Hello and welcome to another Dash Recall race in the Super Metroid Random League. I'm bad at Metroid. I'm joined by A0 with an office on the comms. We should get started in a second here. Everything's set up, so thanks to the people over Speed Gaming. How you doing, Zero?
I'm doing great. How about you, Bad at Metroid?
Oh, pretty good. Sad to see no more Dash races after tomorrow, but there's a lot of races tomorrow, so.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. No more Dash, but we get another co-op week, which is always, in some ways, a little more chaotic, but just means more Super Metroid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking before while getting set up. I learned this race has some interesting implications. That it's a nice matchup here. Not Now Gwen needs to win for her team to still have a chance. For Tenacious 3 to still be able to make it in the playoffs. And a little less pressure on PHMR Reunited, but there's implications there. If they win, they clinch, and I believe that hurts Cutie's coaches. So yeah, a lot of moving pieces starting to come together, which is nice to see at the end of the season here.
And we're off. So yeah, we'll talk about this as the race goes on, but since this is a Dash seed, bit different rules, a few new items, some pathing opened up. Definitely changes the meta, so you get nice convergence, usually followed by convergence. We've seen some games that like players take completely different paths and end up somehow head-to-head in Torian, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's almost kind of one way to think of it is because there's things that open up more. It's almost like there's more coin flips in the routing, which means if you win all the coin flips, it gets a little bit more one-sided than some of the seeds, but that's less likely to happen, and it can end up converging, like you mentioned. Right off the bat, we get one of the unique dash items, the charge upgrade. For anyone not aware that hasn't watched any of these throughout the week, that number in the top right is the damage of their charge beam. And there are 5 charge upgrades, I believe, in the pool that just gradually increase the damage of your charge.
Well, there's 4 upgrades, but they start with 1, so.
Right, 5 damage values. Thank you for correcting.
And Morphing Ball, this was guaranteed to be here. This is essentially it's major minor for people who are familiar with the Varia terminology. So down here in Retro Bryn, only checking Morph Ball in the Ceiling Tank. Of course, also they need all the minors, so definitely checking Alpha Missiles. And it's Power Bombs. Okay, we have Explosives. We have Morph Ball, we're good to go.
Yep, and with this mode, there's, I guess it's true of not Dash Recall as well, that there's always some hot takes on whether or not the meme route, so to speak, is worth it or not, taking the power bombs left to Brinstar. If these aren't supers, I'd be surprised if the runners go that way, but it's still an option.
Yeah, very unlikely.
Yeah, Gwen is clearly turning around. She's going to go up. We'll see what Sasquatch decides to do. Yeah, doing the same. That makes sense here.
Yeah, for supers to be useful, for meme route to be useful, you need supers to get the wave gate and the. I guess that's it for the key items, but that's still pretty huge. Oh, power bombs! Wow. Wonder if that means this is one of the C's with like a very delayed missiles or very delayed supers.
It can be. So the one thing that's interesting that I'm not sure it gets talked about enough with these Dash Recall seeds is there is a little bit more consistency in the minor placements. They don't have quite the variability of some of like the different progression speeds that the Varia randomizer generates, which really the way that plays out kind of just means that you're more likely to get a little bit of everything, especially early on ammo-wise, so it doesn't kind of drag you along in some of the slow progression seeds, but that still certainly could happen. You might have a ways to go for supers.
So you're saying the late supers games that I've seen were just coincidental and not intentional on the part of Dash?
I mean, it's definitely can still happen, but it looks like this one's not one. I was actually surprised, a little surprised both runners checked 230, especially before doing the bomb chorizo and maybe even the gauntlet checks, but do get rewarded with supers, and they're both still on even playing field, which is nice to see with how closely synced they are already, or still.
Yeah, that's within a second. Pretty good.
Yeah, and I think, I guess just, I'd like to talk a little bit more about these runners. I've seen them both play a couple races throughout the season, paid a little more attention to them since they are in my division of the league. And they're both relatively newer to the community than some teams, but both have a lot of skills already. Not Now Gwen tends to have a lot of just overall strong like room movement, and it seems like a lot of her effort has been focused on just like general movement in the game, whereas Sasquatch has really grinded out some like tech and strats, and it's really interesting to see where their peaks and valleys and their skill sets are, and both are becoming really good at this randomizer really quickly.
Yeah, a second ago, I think it was Sasquatch took Alcatraz escape and Gwen took the powerbomb escape. So like you're saying, like slight preferences, but still neck and neck now.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of that. Sasquatch going for harder strats. I know he's done things like he's capable of like one-round fantunes with Dopplers, things like that are just crazy difficult. Wow. But still just the movement of the game is so critical as well that they've taken the same route, and he's a little bit behind on movement, but it's seconds behind, so that should be exciting. This gauntlet's a really, really interesting one here. No E-tanks is very scary. Luckily, there's extra power bombs. The runners can play it pretty safe, and are currently playing it nice and safe.
Yeah, I do know a lot of fairly skilled runners who think that no E-tanks gauntlet, that's very terrifying. One wrong step and you're just toast. First energy tank. So, not a deciding factor, but still welcome, I'm sure. Those spikes are like half your health at this point before that energy tank.
That, and if you just make one wrong mistake, that acid drains your energy so fast. And obviously no suits, you can't get out, but very nicely done by Not Now Gwen. Barely losing any energy. Sasquatch getting near the end too. It's definitely worth it to play it safe, avoid the death, keep that E-tank, which could be really helpful potentially for hell runs.
And the super gauntlet. This is probably the best thing you could have at gauntlet missiles.
Yeah, for sure. So the one thing about these supers is in this dash recall, all the realigned beam combo damage, you're a little less likely to get that overpowered beam since the plasma beam has been nerfed a bit. And if you don't find very many charge upgrades, all the other beams are still nerfed too. So early miners are really helpful, especially supers. It's a really good find.
Yeah, even with full beam combo, you only get 500 damage on Mother Brain. So supers are still somewhat useful then. And that's if you get all 4 E-tanks and plasma or 3 beams. All 4 charge tanks, I mean.
So it looks like still no divergence. It's Not Now Gwen's going down the elevator to Brinstar. Sasquatch will be right behind. With no movement to get to Rex Ship. There are 4 majors in Rex Ship, I believe. 5 majors? Since the Sky Missile was converted to a major item for this item set to make it a little bit more valuable. But still no good items to get across the moat. The runners are obviously not going to go that way before Brinstar.
Oh, double jump. Speaking of Rex Ship.
Yeah, it's nice. One of those new items we get to see in action.
Yeah, double jump is just a single jump space jump, but in 90% of the cases, that's all you need, especially for progression opening up. The worst room item, it's a mode item. X-ray a million times easier. Pretty clever there. Gwen shot out the block above those missiles before doing the quick crumble drop. Hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, I think coming back up through the shot blocks is faster than jumping back up through the crumbles. Although the way Sasquatch did it, jumping back up is a little bit tighter on timing. With high jump boots, I think that might be faster, but again, cool to see them do different little differences in strats.
And they're close enough for us to notice. Yeah, skipping Eticoons. Best case scenario is a super missile. That's not really worth the 3 or 4 door transitions.
Yeah, more super missiles would be really nice for potential like crystal flash ammo, and just Ridley and Mother Brain in general are going to take a lot of damage, but the wave beams are actually a huge damage upgrade. You see that charge damage goes up to 150 already.
No Spazer, unfortunately. Spazer would give them waterway access at this point because of the dash recall changes.
That's a good point. Yeah, for anyone not aware, the Spazer and Speed Booster both let you go through waterway. Same with the Botchboon hallway. Not now going doing the waveless wave gate with wave beam, but nice she gets it first try to avoid going through too many supers.
Oh, early gravity.
That's interesting. I really like seeing early gravity in these dash seeds. I think it's a little bit more interesting competitively in most cases. It really opens up a lot more options. All the Meridia changes. It makes it a little bit riskier to kind of autopilot down to Upper Norfair in case you get stuck there with no suit.
Yeah, and in dash recall, gravity is, I think it's 25% hell run reduction in addition to the normal damage reduction.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's 25% everywhere. If the heat shield pops and we see that, that'll change that to 50%, or sorry, it'll change that to 50% in Lower Norfair, but full damage reduction from heat in Upper Norfair.
Yeah, that's what I love about Dash Rando is normally it's 2 suits, up to an item, or stream item, game over. Whereas this, there's a diversity of suits. You see a lot more hell runs. And a lot of suitless because pressure valve lets you get halfway through Meridia, so suitless isn't like as much of a time sink.
Yeah, for sure. This randomizer tends to give you, the dash randomizer gives you a lot of ways to beat the game early, but beat it with a lot of difficulty and really slowly. So it becomes, what's worth it to check to get a little bit more quality of life, to make this safer, to make this faster. And because you can find the pressure valve and the heat shield or the new items that work kind of like the less effective versions of the gravity suit in Varia. Same with like the double jump to space jump. But
so if you don't see any more progression, where would you go from here? Straight for Dragon or Wreck Ship?
I would say I'm not sure how either runner feels about the matchup, how much they know of their opponents. But I think with that gravity suit, Meridia is looking really nice.
Speaking of nice,
it's all available. With Space Jump, you can go through the CAC Alley and not even have to worry about that Botchwoon hallway that I mentioned. And since Shack Tool has the grapple block removed there and all the sand, so you don't have to wait for Shack Tool to dig out to get to the item, that's a little faster. There's an extra item in the watering hole too, so there's a lot of value in Meridia right now.
Plasma's open too. If you want to grab that before going to Dragon.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, that's
all of Dragon's doors are open at the beginning. Another dash recall feature.
Yeah, and of course we can't forget about Kraid. Kraid is kind of still the default first boss, I think, in most of these seeds. If you don't go to Wreck Ship, which is totally a viable option, seems a little less popular, especially given one of the suits. But I think you got to go Kraid first. So hopefully we see, I imagine we'll see both runners go to Kraid and then decide to go either down to the high jump and maybe some of the hell runs, or to Meridia.
Of course, now that we've completely talked about Meridia, I'm guessing Kraid will have Varia and just completely ruin all that.
It's definitely a possibility. Yeah, there's certainly things that would make Meridia faster. High jump, speed booster. But with space jump, you can mitigate a lot of that underwater. It's a little bit easier. And both runners have upgraded from the double jump to space jump, so it's really not too bad to get through there.
Just missiles in Kraid's pantry. So close. I think she hit him with 2 missiles before the supers as well, so it might be 100 hit points away.
Yeah, unfortunately, that looks really good, but nice quick cleanup at least. It always feels bad to miss the quick kill, but it's maybe less of a time loss people realize if you recover quickly like that and can still finish him off.
Okay, speed booster. And Kraid's down.
Right,
That
nice
quick kill probably
Small.
close the gap in half or so.
Yeah, so speed booster doesn't really change what's available here necessarily. It potentially gives a little bit easier in and out of ice beam if the runners do want to go down and trek high jump and ice beam first before Meridia. Looks like Not Now Gwen is doing that. It's kind of a safe play, I would say. That I doubt she's planning on doing all the hell runs unless there's a heat shield or maybe even 2 E-tanks here.
Yeah, unless Varia's in Upper Norfair, I feel like Upper Norfair right now would be a mistake.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But it kind of feels like these checks are so close by. If you don't check them now, and your opponent does, and it's, say, Varia suit, then you're spending so much time checking all the Meridia ones. Morph bombs are not the most useful, but they're nice.
With this many power bombs, probably not going to be doing much other than cleaning up mistakes for Metroids.
Yeah, that's a good point. there's still some utility. But
They do a
30
hell run. I
probably
think it saves like 5 or 6 power bombs in lower Norfair. So
Alright, get to see both runners check one of these items and then probably trade places. This is actually going to work out a little bit better for Not Now Gwen, since she's going to get that E-Tank here and then be back up to full on energy, whereas Sasquatch now has the 400 energy, or 499, and then will likely lose a couple tanks worth doing the Ice Beam Hell Run. But shouldn't make too much of a difference, unless they decide to do more Hell Runs.
I think unless Varya's up in Upper Norfair, those hell runs will really be. They need at least 2 or 3 more tanks, even with Heat Shield. At least I would.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell how different, like the different item sets make it. Like the Speed Booster hallway, for instance, is with Speed Booster you really only need 2 tanks. Without Speed Booster, it usually takes about 4. Or I think that's what the logic says anyway. The logic says you need 4. Whereas Wave Beam, even with Speed Booster, is still really slow and kind of risky on 4 tanks. So yeah, as expected, Not Now Gwen going up here. She already opened the tube earlier, going into Meridian.
Good mock ball escape by Sasquatch. Probably morph ball. Speed ball. But it was mock ball, yeah. He didn't actually activate the blue.
Oh, and Sasquatch is farming up here, which tells me that maybe he's going to do the Hell Runs over to Bubble Mountain. Get some divergence here.
Another charge beam.
Yes, Varia's suit can be at Bubble Mountain here. This is in logic with a number of E-Tanks. I don't know the numbers for all the locations, so I'm not going to give any misinformation necessarily. I kind of said that earlier, but I don't know how correct I was. But also Heat Shield could be available somewhere that leads to the Varia suit. That's definitely a possibility, at least for these Upper Norfair checks.
I feel like with this many potential crystal flashes, it's pretty safe Upper Norfair.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really safe as long as you're comfortable with tracking your health and getting the timing on those crystal flashes right, which is an art in and of itself. Knowing when you need to do it and when you can get away with, running to the next room or trying to make it out. The problem with it is it's kind of slow because you are going to need to farm at some point. So if it pays out, it'll be worth it here. But if not, then Not Now Gwen's likely just going to make these checks a little bit faster.
And Watering Hole Super Missiles. This is another Rando major. Just an E-Tank though. Pressure valve.
Oh, that's a little unfortunate. This is a really hard one not to face plant. And Sasquatch grabs the pressure valve, and it does nothing. That's one of the worst things about this dash recall settings is that once you get the gravity, once you get the space jump, once you get the Varia suit, 3 items that go along with those, the heat shield, pressure valve, and double jump, are just worthless.
Well, Sasquatch did save, so maybe if Wave Beam is also worthless, then they'll retcon it and pretend it never happened. Cat asked what pressure valve does. It's basically a light version of gravity suit. Gives you access to everything except for Dragon's area in Meridia. Like Aqueduct, Sampits, Botwoon, Coliseum and Dragon are all still gravity locked, but Waterway, West Meridia, all of the other water areas are free. The movement's free. Screw attack. I feel like our odds of a Lower Norfolk Hell Run just tripled.
Yeah, it's still a little awkward with just Gravity Suit. As you mentioned, there's that 25% damage reduction from heat down there with Gravity, but it's still kind of rough. And just because it's different than, I'm not sure what Sasquatch's experience is in the vanilla game or other randomizers doing that Lower Norfair Hell Run, but it's different by enough that I think it's almost not even easier. The heat shield though does reduce it by 50%, which is enough that makes it substantially more of an accessible option.
Yeah, the heat shield makes it so you can farm outside Ridley profitably. Gravity, not so much. I think you'll still want a Crystal Flash. High jump boots. Awesome item. Not a low nerf item. I'm sure Sasquatch is happy, but I was hoping for an immediate Hell Run.
Yeah. So yeah, Sasquatch, like you said, he's happy with that, but not required. Really getting the better end of this trade. Not Now Gwen finding a bunch of relatively unimportant items, unless she's planning on doing the LN Hell Runs. The extra E tank and the reserve tank aren't particularly valuable. But we've got just Shack Tool left here, and the other option is, I guess Dragon and Batuun. That's right. We have the actual back part, because she's got the gravity suit, not just the pressure valve.
Also the sand pits with a Meridian reserve tank, another major. So still plenty in Meridia. I think this is going to be a croc check.
Yeah, I like this play. If you've already committed the time to the Hell Runs, it feels really bad to abandon Norfair after you've already cleared out all the other items here. And this isn't enough to do the Lower Norfair Hell Runs. Or rather, it's enough to do it, but only if you do it really well and really slowly with several crystal flashes, and that's not advisable for a race. Sasquatch is going to be hoping for... really, both runners are just hoping for Varium mostly, but... that or Heat Shield to prevent that climb back up into Meridia and going kind of the wrong direction from where Sasquatch has already started here.
Now, logically, I don't know what the max difficulty is. Is Varia ever in Lower Norfair, or is it just like never going to happen?
It cannot be in these seeds, no.
Spazer doesn't actually open anything, unfortunately, but I guess that gives quite a bit of damage. Now, because of the way that Dash beams work, Sasquatch has the maximum damage in terms of beams. Getting Plasma would just be a lateral move as far as damage goes. Ice Wave and Spazer is 100 per charge level, and Plasma is also 100.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, point out in chat that Waterway is available for both runners. They didn't have Speed Booster at the time, which opens it up, but Spazer might be something that brings that into Sasquatch's mind a little bit more.
Like Varia at Waterway is such an iconic combo, or any suit at Waterway in Dash seeds.
That definitely would make this an interesting race. It is an interesting race still, since we're seeing just a whole lot of, nice items. Things are good, but there's still a chance of
Everything
Varia
but-
anywhere. Yeah, anything but Varia. It could be anywhere up in Wreck Ship even. A lot of options that could bring the runners back together after this divergence, which is, as you pointed out earlier, one of the things that makes this mode kind of shine. So yeah, I don't feel like Sasquatch can go to Lower Norfair. Didn't really find anything in Croc that helps.
Okay, the math is easy again. Plasma, 3 charges makes 400. Ice Wave Spacer, 2 charges, 300.
Looks like so Sasquatch is leaving Norfair. Not Now Gwen's going up to Wreck Ship through Forgotten Highway. I think this is a good call. At this point, it's looking like it's got to be the answer. but even from her perspective, I like this. You can even check the Wreck Ship E-Tank item on the way in, which is a nice advantage of this routing. That's one of the recall changes.
Now we didn't see. I know we didn't see Shack Full, but I'm pretty sure we didn't see Sandpit either. There's still that, and then there's Waterway.
We did see the Sandpit. It
You did see
was
Sandpit?
an energy tank. I don't believe she picked it up, but I could be mistaken about that.
Okay. Cat says it was an E-Tank.
Yeah, and yeah, this LN loadout just would not work for Sasquatch really. Screw attack would help, but it's not enough E-tanks, and Not Now Gwen has the E-tanks, but it's still pretty rough on just the gravity suit, even with the 25% reduction. So I like this play from both of them. To eat a little bit of time loss as far as traversing the map goes, and not put yourself in a really difficult situation where you might die or just lose a lot of time on your movement to stay alive.
So I know this is true about the Varia tweaks, but in Dash, is the Wreck Ship E available before Fantoon's been defeated?
It is if you come from this direction, which is a really interesting decision, but I think it's just to add a little bit more value to the routing divergence and make Forgotten Highway a more viable option. So hopefully Gwen realizes that and she checks it on the way in. Yeah, the door that leads over here will be gray from the main shaft, but since you're coming at it from the right, all these doors are, I think, vanilla except for the missile door right before this, and then of course the E-tank being present is not vanilla behavior.
Like the biggest casualty of Dash is Batoon. Unless you have a no gravity and you want to do a suitless Meridia with pressure valve, Batoon does not get any attention.
Yeah, there's probably some other options where it's faster as well. Like if you for example have a lot of supers and no space jump or anything like that, making the CAC alley path a little slower, but it is unfortunate we don't get to see as many botch moon fights, fewer X factors. Not that these runners would do it with their current beam combos anyway, but it's nice to see when those kind of things can happen in randomizers.
Yeah. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I swear both the runners have hesitated for like a quarter of a second before the last like 3 E-tanks.
Yeah,
like normally you're thinking no, but those hell runs, it might still happen.
That's I think the best thing about this dash recall is that every one of these checks, even like some of the minor checks or like really on path minors, every one of them has such a more questionable value that it's, you know, a super pack. Like usually, you know, okay, I have this beam combo, so I don't need any more supers. In this case, it's, well, I have this beam combo, but there's more ways like that could change. So it changes the value of each item. And same with E-tanks, that there's so many different options of what kind of suits and loadouts you could end up with. So it's really way harder to figure out when you need E-tanks and when you should skip them.
Yeah, definitely a lot more pickups in Dash Rando. You never know when you need that extra ammo pack. Sasquatch just breezed through Shack Tool without the grapple block. The entire sibling's been removed, and then sand is gone. Shack Tool's worth it again.
Worth it, except not for that E-tank, unfortunately.
Yeah. As chat said a second ago, you should only check Shack Tool when the item's good. Otherwise, I don't advise it.
Yeah, I think Not Now Gwen could use that E-tank a little bit more than Sasquatch. She took some extra damage there in the Fantoon fight, but got through without too much trouble.
And there it is. Right side supers and wreck ship. This is Fantoon's secret item.
Yep, and the only thing that's unfortunate about this is that it's really awkward to get all the way back down to Lower Norfair, but you'll probably see Not Now Gwen leave through the front of the ship and just back down Red Tower. Be the fastest way to do that. Hopefully Sasquatch gets up there sooner, but it's like, I mean, it would make sense. Like, he's not going to just skip Plasma after doing Shack Tool. It's unfortunate that was not worth it all.
Yeah, I bet Gwen's probably panicking right now. If I were in her shoes, I'd be thinking like, they go wreck ship before everything else. You know, it definitely was like, I think, the smart choice given the items they have.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also have people make wild choices, and sometimes it pays off.
Yeah, sometimes the way that I was thinking of this is that wreck ship first is the play in a lot of these, unless you just don't do wreck ship at all. If you can get away with just never doing it and just going down Red Tower and only coming back up when you've beaten all the other bosses, but that really wasn't very viable here. Maybe if you did Meridia before Upper Norfair, you'd end up having the right number of E-tanks to get through Lower Norfair without the Varia, but even then, might not be enough to make up the difference. And then, of course, from a racer perspective, it's always interesting in this go mode, like I mentioned before, that the questionable value of the items. There is still one more charge upgrade out there that would pretty significantly increase Not Now Gwen's damage. There's the high jump boots, the screw attack. So there's a lot of things. There's even more than usual things that would be beneficial. So we'll see if she checks any or very many of the majors that are on path here. I doubt she's going to check anything at Bubble Mountain or GT, but we'll see.
My guess is I think this is go mode for Gwen.
Yeah, maybe behind Ridley or Fire Fleas, you could justify those might be worth just for the high jump boots, or even screw attack just to get through the key hunters a little bit better. Oh, Sasquatch a little high on that Shine Spark. I don't know how much damage that did. It is pretty tricky when you don't... Oh, no, he does have the high jump boots. Never mind. My mistake.
I was going to say he's really committing to the shine kill, but I guess without ammo.
Yeah, his beam does pretty significant damage. It wouldn't be the worst to throw in some charge shots as well.
Oh, come on, Dragon. No, you want to die. Come on. Still in it.
There we go. And even though I don't think Sasquatch really wants more E-tanks, he probably wants the refill right now, so that'll be worth picking up.
Yeah, at this point, I feel like you're committed to going to wreck ship or E-tanks. The odds of a Hell Run are very low. That could just be my hindsight talking.
Yeah, no fast pillar setup, but with 30 power bombs, you don't have to worry about that quite as much as in some of the vanilla categories.
She has plasma too, which a lot of the benefit of screw attack is gated if you can shoot through the E-hunters and the Skigas.
Yeah, the hitboxing's still really helpful. The difference is, though, that it's hard to get used to some of the damage differences. Like, you see these pirates still take 4 or 5 charge shots to kill, which is not typical. And it's hard to readjust, and as you see that beam come out, you might be thinking, like, you know what it's going to do, and then it doesn't actually kill the enemies. It can throw you off. But Sasquatch getting the bad news that turns out nothing here in Meridia was required, and looks like he's going to take the same route as Not Now Gwen, just a little bit behind after doing all the Upper Norfair clears, including the Hell Runs, including Crocomire. So he's going up to wreck ship, and he'll be dealing with Fantoon and getting his Varia suit.
Gwen got the RNG on that room. In Wasteland, if you hug the left wall, you can make sure the Skigas jump over you.
Yeah, it's a nice little piece of tech. Yeah, she's doing a great job moving through, making quick progress.
Neat screw attack.
And she's got plenty of supers too, which is really nice. Even though her beam's really strong, it's still a little awkward, again, doing the math to know how many hits it needs on Ridley. Same with like those Metal Pirates or the Golden Pirates in Worst Room. It can be really awkward, but she's going to be able just to use all of her supers, and as long as she doesn't miss a couple, won't even have to worry about the charge damage. Having a little bit of trouble. The lack of high jump boots probably throwing things off a little bit, especially trying to jump over Ridley and land shots at the right times on some of the swoops.
Do you think she'll check the item?
I would think so, just in case it's high jump boots for the escape or screw attack. Or honestly, another E-Tank, which... oh, nicely done. I wasn't sure how many of those supers had missed, but it's like more of them hit than I thought. Really, just an E-Tank would maybe be okay, just to make it a little safer to face tank some of the key hunters. You don't have to think about hitboxing them or trying to kill them. Like the Three Musketeers are difficult to go through, just hitboxing the key hunters and trying to not take damage that way. And then killing them, of course, with the slightly weaker beam takes even longer, so... The E-Tank's probably not a bad find based on that alone.
And Gwen agrees. Continue time.
And as usual, the runner that's behind gets a nice slow. Too bad Sasquatch didn't grab the X-ray scope. He turned his nose up at it at the grapple beam location, and it would have probably saved all the time from picking it up between this and the Dragon fights.
Well, he didn't have plasma for Dragon though, unfortunately.
Oh, you're right. Plasma was that a Bonchwini tank?
Yep.
Very nice Doppler to finish off the fight. I wasn't paying attention to his missile count. It must have been low at the start. He was using charge shots.
Oh, is that why? I was wondering about that. I was like, 400. Pretty sure Sasquatch can Doppler better than that.
Yeah, that was I think that was like 4 missiles or something like that, but just to finish off the fight, it looked very effortless, and he could have certainly done more. But yeah, Gwen is moving really quick. This is a nice pace. All 4 bosses done, and she is not going to check the Fire Fleas tank item. We know it's not either of the things that would help her out still and be worth the time, but...
Yeah, where were high jump boots again? Was that in Croc?
High jump boots were at somewhere in Upper Norfair.
Along with screw attack.
The Norfair Reserve? It was at Norfair Reserve, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. An X-ray was a grapple.
Yes. Alright, Sasquatch with his various suit, again, following behind down Red Tower. Yeah, it's too bad the divergence in this race didn't pan out in a way that allowed it to continue to diverge. It just kind of pushed both runners up into wreck ship eventually, but not now. Gwen got to skip all the Upper Norfair stuff.
Yeah, Sasquatch's coin flips threw him down a dead end, unfortunately. That's a randomizer.
Yeah, there still were several outs. I mean, even the heat shield being in Upper Norfair would have potentially let him do the Lower North Fair suitless and avoid a lot of this map backtracking. It would have made it so the Crocomire play wouldn't have been quite as much bait as well.
On the chat, Plooms is trash talking Croc and Shack Tool, making a lot of enemies.
Yeah, I'm on board as far as the dash recall goes anyway about Croc. I think it's there's enough other things that it's hard to justify, especially without like the plasma beam for the quicker kill. But even still, there's so many other locations. It's easy to just kind of, in most cases, take an area like that and just write it off and say, I'm not checking Croc.
Yeah, earlier today I saw somebody
scene,
actually walk in with plasma and just like kill Croc, grab the E-tank, and didn't even check grapple because it's like at the bottom of a ton of doors. And
yeah, that's totally a viable option. I think that's one that probably should get more consideration. But
now that Shack Tools doesn't have the sand blocks, that might be the longest check as for distance from other checks.
yeah, you might be right. Probably depends on where you're coming from for Shack Tool as well. Like if you're doing it with just pressure valve and you're not checking through like Aqueduct and Sandpit on your way there, then I think that's still probably the slowest. Not now when refilling at the ship, which is really smart. Make sure all those supers are up. Again, I'm a big fan of the ship refill, even with this strong of a beam. It's going to be more damage per second than using the charge shot still.
Yeah, his charge shot is just over a missile now. Just over a super. So 60 of them as opposed to 20.
It takes a whole second to fire off too. Yeah, sub-hour. I think that's definitely on the table for Not Now Gwen, depending on how Arturian goes. We do get the new endings for the Dash Recall, where the good ending in the credits is dictated by sub 45 minutes, and then there's the moderate or medium one that's sub-hour, and I don't actually know what the bad ending is, if it's over an hour 15 or if it's... or under an hour 15 or an hour 30 that... I don't know. The good one's 45 minutes. But it's really hard to get.
Yeah. You basically have to skip Dragon for that to happen.
Yeah, you pretty much just need both suits up front and then go.
Metroid Dream so far. And that's it. Metroids are down. Only one remains. The last one.
And I think it's unlikely we'll see a baby skip attempt without the high jump boots. No, those pesky E-tanks just make it harder to damage down.
Every E-tank after 3 is baby food.
Oh, Sasquatch actually losing a surprising amount of time here, being low on supers. Looks like he's not going to farm.
He's going for it.
Yeah, he's definitely capable of the fight, and he should be fine. But it's going to be a lot slower than the farm. It's tricky because this is an amount of damage that you feel like the farm is slow, but I don't know if it's slower than just doing the fight 400 damage each shot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. Yeah, some of these little details just it takes a lot of seeds to get used to. I know I practiced this mode a ton to make sure I was prepared for my race, and there's so many little things that can throw you off like that. But so far, he's having a really good fight.
Yeah, he's not having any trouble. And without grappling beam farming outside, this is really slow.
Oh, for sure.
First tricep skip. Good job, Gwen.
Very nice. Going with the MST lag strats, leaving the Rinkas on screen during the Mother Brain 1 kill. But at least they're out of the way.
Oh, Sasquatch having a little trouble. I guess those E-tanks come in handy after all.
Yeah. Looks like Ridley's dead, maybe? No? He's very, very red.
He's indecisive.
Okay, yeah, he's definitely dead. I wasn't sure if that last ram was an attempted grab or a ram attack. Not even checking, not even waiting for the drops. I'm not sure I agree with that one. Definitely feeling the pressure at 55 minutes. But I think I would have went for that E-tank. Or the vanilla E-tank item and hoped it was actually vanilla.
Two good wasteland strats.
Like, it's bad RNG from the Skiga though. It doesn't want to wait for the damage boost, which is totally understandable. And really probably doesn't want to lose the health from the damage boost either at this point. So maybe it's worked out for the best. And so not now going in the cutscene. Comfy did not have enough energy for... Actually, I didn't see if she got damaged a little too much for stand-up or just opted not to do it, but... doesn't matter too much. We can talk a little bit about the playoff implications here. So this will drop the PHMR to 4 and 8, which means that if they win out, they still make the playoffs. They're not eliminated, or there's some options where if they split the last week and the Tenacious 3 lose both their races the last week, PHMR is still in. So yeah, definitely still a lot up in the air. But PHMR could have clinched this week. Does not, for their sake, unfortunately do that. But Tenacious 3 staying alive, keeping the hope of playoffs on the table.
Sasquatch did a good showing, but unfortunately wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, it looks like between the combination of just some of the bad luck and the routing choice of going to Upper Norfair and doing those hell runs has made the difference. And not to take anything away from Not Now Gwen, she's played great too. This is still looking like that sub-hour. Unless we get an animal save and maybe a little soak in the acid pool that comes up in the animal room, I think she's gonna make it.
Yeah, I think she had to hang out with the animals for a good 30 seconds.
I love to see people. We're at a point in a timeline where people are triggered by that door, the most important door transition of the game. That's what I'm calling out. That I am really super aware of too now. That if you misalign that down door, it takes a really long time to recenter. So it's surprisingly bad in speedruns to not like to break that door and have it, slide over to the side.
I did not know that. Did you just like wait for the scroll to finish before walking through the door? Or?
The trick is you don't want to run too far to the left. So as soon as you're over that door, the first one that drops down after Mother Brain, I always just tap right to turn around, like to stop my momentum. But you don't want to pull the camera back to the right, I guess is the way to say it.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you do that, it'll pull the door off center, and then you have to wait for it to realign. Get the last room here.
The race time GG time of 59:25. Now Gwen pulls in the sub-hour victory.
G. Got sync ships on screen. Unfortunately, Sasquatch still has to go through Torian. That was a really nice race. We can showcase the randomizer. We'll see if either runner wants to come in for an interview. Alrighty, looks like we're joined by Not Now Gwen. GG.
Hello, thank you.
GG.
I did this last night where I did the same route, exactly the same route. And I think I was just lucky that I was kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do here.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly worked out well for you. I'm sure the full clear of Meridia didn't feel great, but...
Yeah, it really doesn't. I feel like there's no good time to do Meridia with Dash. It's weird. Definitely prefer the Wreck Ship and Norfair to Meridia, but I just wanted to get to the top and it felt like the right way.
Well, unfortunately for Sasquatch, he did the same full clear of Meridia as well, but after Upper Norfair, doing the hell runs, and didn't really find a lot there either. So that was the big difference. And we're joined by Sasquatch as well. GG's.
GG's.
Sasquatch.
So Sasquatch, how did you feel about the seed overall?
Not bad. It's funny. Of the seeds that I've played, and I'd say I played probably 15 over the course of the weeks trying to learn this mode. And I found that going down has, for the most part, worked out for me. It did not in this case.
Yeah,
and
we heard that... Sorry, go ahead.
And of the seeds where I've went, say you get like an early pressure valve or a gravity, and you route Meridia back up to Wreck Ship. If you don't have a lot of health, that can be pretty dangerous, and I've found to not be too fond of it.
Yeah, Dash can be so unpredictable, because I find like sometimes you just go into Norfair and you get everything you wanted, and it's like, okay, well, it's kind of over now, we go mode.
Yeah.
And then other times it's like, oh, I had to go to both Wreck Ship and Upper Norfair or Mama Turtle. It's like, oh, it becomes very slow. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, I was by the time I had gotten to Wreck Ship, I was starting to worry about Waterway. It was definitely on my mind.
Yeah, it turns out Waterway was heat shield. So
Oh, okay.
Waterway seems to always hold the key.
Yeah, speaking of the heat shield, would that have impacted either of you in deciding to go to Lower Norfair instead of searching out that Varia suit?
Yeah, I would have done it, I think.
I would consider it. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of how many E-tanks I had by the time I finished clearing upper.
It
6,
wasn't many.
maybe.
They were kind of all in Meridia, because that was the interesting
Yeah.
thing, is we were considering, are you going to do Lower Norfair, or are you going to get forced up into Meridia with not knowing
Yeah.
when? And it ended up you didn't find the tanks, you didn't find the heat shield.
Mhm.
Kind of answered the question for us.
So I see chat saying 4, even with the 30 power bombs I had at that point. I feel like that would have been a little risky trying to go to Lower Norfair, even if I had the heat shield.
I would need heat shield like after Dragon immediately, and then I think I picked up plenty of ammo early on and health tanks, so I could do it with some crystal flashes. It would be tempting.
Yeah, I like the decision from both of you to grab a pretty good amount of ammo early. You both had a nice, like, even spread of missile supers and power bombs for crystal flashes, and of course just boss kills.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely helped out throughout the run. So with this win, oh sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine. Carry on.
I was just gonna say this keeps both of your teams alive for playoffs. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I really enjoy where Norfair is in this tournament. It's fun competing for 4th place or 3rd.
Yeah, we had a very, I want to say, especially for PHMR, especially, we had a very front-loaded division. And then now we're kind of, say between at least 3 of us, we're all fighting for that 4th spot. And it's been kind of a fun back and forth. So, it'll be interesting to see, who can power through week 7.
Yeah, lots of pressure.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Looking forward to it.
Very nice. Are either of you playing in week 7, or both of you?
I should be playing at least once.
Possibly. I wouldn't mind sitting out, but I could also play. So, not 100% decided yet, but it may or may not be.
Nice. Well, either way, I'm looking forward to seeing how your teams do and how things shake out for everybody.
Thanks.
Any more words on the seed, on the league? Anything else?
No, not really. I wish we had Dash recall for longer, because I feel like there's metas that will develop over time, but it's still so early that we haven't seen it yet.
For sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Well, I mean, as a fairly new mode, though, it is kind of cool to see, because we haven't had, something different in a while, and it's definitely different.
The total contrast to the last week, where it was Chozo and most players had the same plan going in. Well, thank you very much for the race. Thank you for commentary and tracking. I think I'm going to scoot off.
Okay.
But thank you all very much. Bye.
Yeah, GG's.
GG.
GG's again. And again, everybody watching, follow the runners. They both did a great job. Put on a great show. Interesting seed. Not quite as close to the finish as expected, but definitely played comparably throughout the race. Anything to send us off, Bad at Metroid?
No, just thanks, Lenofus, for tracking. Thanks for joining me for Com Zero. It's been a blast. GG, everyone. And see you next mission.
We'll see ya.